Welcome to a deep dive into some really strange stuff surrounding the JFK assassination. We're going to be looking at these coincidences and examining photographic evidence, but with a twist. We've got articles straight from the fourth decade, a research journal all about JFK, so get ready to have your assumptions challenged because things are about to get really interesting.
Yeah, we're going to go beyond just the facts, and really look at the why. We'll be asking, why are these connections so weird? Why do these photographs look so strange? You might be surprised at what we find.
Okay, so first up, we have an article about George de Morinchild. This guy is like something out of a spy novel. He was friends with, get this, both Lee Harvey Oswald and the Bouvier.
Wait, the Bouvier as in Jackie Kennedy's family?
Yep, the same ones.
Wow, that's a crazy coincidence. What are the odds of that?
I know, right? So the article dives into this connection. I mean, was de Morinchild more than just a friend to Oswald? Some researchers think he might have even been a CIA handler.
A CIA handler. Wow.
I know.
So then, how does his daughter, Alexandra, fit into all this?
Okay, so get this. Alexandra's husband actually testified to the Warren Commission. He said that the de Morinchilds might have been involved in the assassination.
Whoa, hold on. Are you serious? He said that to the Warren Commission.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
That's insane.
And then it gets even weirder. Alexandra was actually the last person to talk to the HSCA investigator. This was just hours before her father died.
Wait, the HSCA. Remind me what that was again?
Oh, right. So that was the House Select Committee on Assassinations. They were like a congressional investigation back in the 70s.
Oh.
They looked into both the JFK and the MLK assassinations.
Oh, right, I remember.
So anyway, they were digging deep, and de Morinchild seems like a key figure. And then, bam, he dies by suicide right as this investigation is closing in on him.
That timing is really suspicious, isn't it? It makes you think, was he silenced before he could say something important?
I know, right? The article even says that Jim Garrison thought de Morinchild was Oswald's CIA handler.
Garrison? Wasn't he the New Orleans DA who did his own investigation?
That's the one.
Wow, so we have all these people connected to the case who thought this guy knew something. It's like he was at the center of this web of connections.
Exactly. And his relationship with the Bouvier is even more bizarre. He was close with the whole family. Jackie, her dad, her mom, even her twin aunts. They socialized all the time. The article even mentions that he went horseback riding with Jackie.
Seriously? That's wild.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that this same guy knew the alleged assassin.
No kidding.
And after the assassination, things get even stranger. De Morinchild and his wife actually went to Jackie's mom, Janet Auchincloss, for help. They wanted her to get the Kennedys to launch an independent investigation. They thought it would clear Oswald's name.
Interesting. So what did the Kennedys say?
Well, according to the article, they weren't interested.
Really, why not?
The article mentions that they were afraid it would open up a can of worms.
That's cryptic. What do you think they meant by that?
Well, who knows? Maybe they had something to hide. Or maybe they just wanted to protect Jackie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's even this chilling quote in the article. It's from an unpublished manuscript by de Morinchild. He says that Mrs. Auchincloss told him, and I quote, "My daughter Jacqueline never wants to see you again because you were close to her husband's assassin."
Wow. Talk about a slap in the face. It's heartbreaking.
I know, right? It adds this whole other layer of tragedy to the story.
It really does. And then, of course, there's the mystery of de Morinchild's death. A self-inflicted shotgun blast, just hours after talking to Gaten Fonzie, the HSCA investigator.
Right, the timing couldn't be more suspicious. Was it really suicide? Or is he silenced?
Fonzie definitely thought there was foul play.
It's a chilling thought.
It is. So we have this guy, de Morinchild, who's connected to both Oswald and the Kennedys. He might have known something crucial, and then he dies under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, it's like he's a key to this whole other side of the JFK assassination. But let's move on to another piece of evidence that's always been controversial. The Moorman photo. This is the Polaroid taken by Mary Moorman. It supposedly shows the moments just before or after JFK was shot.
Ah, yes, the Moorman photo. I remember seeing that. It's so blurry, though.
I know, right? And that's where the debate comes in. When exactly was the photo taken? Because if it was before the fatal headshot, then those figures in the background could be the shooters.
So who thinks what?
Well, Gerald Posner, he thinks it was taken before the headshot. But then you have Richard Trask, who argues it was taken after.
So depending on who's right, the photo takes on a whole new meaning.
Exactly. And to make things even more complicated, tons of researchers have analyzed this photo. Some say they see evidence of a shooter. Others say it's something else entirely.
What kind of something else?
Well, there's this guy, Tom Wilson. He's a retired electrical engineer. He used computer technology to analyze the photo. And he claims his computer identified a figure hiding behind a rifle. He even says he can see a puff of smoke, like a shot was just fired.
Hold on. So he's saying there's a hidden shooter in the photo that our eyes can't even see.
That's what he claims.
That's incredible. I mean, I don't know if I believe it, but it's fascinating to think about.
It definitely is. And it shows how this one photo can be interpreted in so many different ways. It makes you wonder what else might be hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the power of photographs, you know? It can be so revealing, but they can also be misleading.
Exactly. Now get ready for this next article because it really shakes things up. It's all about photographic deception. And it suggests that a bunch of photos and films from that day might have been tampered with.
Whoa, wait a minute. Tampered with. Like faked.
That's what the article argues. We're talking about the Zapruder film, photos by Phil Willis and Marie Muchmore, maybe even others.
Okay, so how many photos are we talking about here?
The article says the number is too big to be just coincidence.
So they're saying if one piece of evidence was altered, others might have been too.
Right. To create a consistent but false story.
That's a scary thought. If they were willing to change one thing, what else do they change?
Exactly. And the article really focuses on the Zapruder film, which, is the most famous piece of evidence. It says there's evidence of missing frames, impossible movements, even differences between copies of the film.
Whoa, wait. Differences between copies?
Yeah, like some copies have things that others don't.
That's messed up.
I know, right?
Yeah.
If it's true, then how can we trust anything we see in that film?
You can't. It's like if someone's going to lie to you, they got to make sure their story's straight.
Yeah.
So they're going to change all the evidence to match, right?
Exactly. And the article goes on to look at other photos, too, like those by Phil Willis. It says there are people missing who should be in the frame, and there are people moving in ways that are physically impossible.
So they're like editing reality.
Basically.
That's insane.
I know, it's crazy. The article even mentions this researcher, Ron Redman, who's analyzed a bunch of these photos and films. He says many of them have been doctored to fit a specific narrative.
A narrative that someone wanted us to believe.
Right.
That's really disturbing.
It is. It makes you think about how much we trust what we see in photos and films. But as this article shows, those images can be manipulated.
Totally. We tend to believe what we see, but sometimes what we see isn't the whole truth.
Exactly. The article even compares those who might have tampered with the evidence to domestic Nazis.
Wow, that's a strong statement.
Yeah, but they're saying that by changing the evidence, they've essentially nullified the votes of millions of people, and they've defiled the memory of a president.
That's heavy stuff.
It is. It makes you wonder what else might have been manipulated throughout history.
Right, like how much of what we think we know is actually true.
Exactly. So far, we've uncovered a lot of strange stuff. We have connections that seem impossible, mysterious deaths, and potentially altered photos.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of a conspiracy, and each layer reveals something even more shocking.
I know, right? It's crazy.
And this is just the beginning. We have a lot more to uncover in this deep dive.
We definitely do. So join us as we keep digging into this complex and controversial event. We'll be looking at even more evidence and trying to get to the bottom of what really happened.
I can't wait. As we go deeper into this photographic evidence, it's like the line between real and fake gets blurry. This next article takes us right into the heart of the Zapruder film, and it breaks it down in a way that's both amazing and kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, this one is called The Zapruder Film, A Study in Deception, Part 3. It's by Harrison E. Livingstone, a big name in JFK research. He spent years analyzing this film, and this article really gets into the nitty-gritty.
So what does he find?
Well, he goes frame by frame, comparing different copies, and he points out all these weird things that suggest the film was messed with.
Like what kind of weird things?
Well, for one, there are differences between the copies.
Differences? What do you mean?
Like, some frames are missing in one copy, but not in another.
Really? That's weird.
Yeah, and sometimes frames are added or things are subtly changed.
So it's like someone's been editing the film.
Exactly. Livingston even talks about these things he calls ghost images or window scenes.
Ghost images, what are those?
So they're these faint remnants of scenes that you can't really see in the main frame, but they show up in the sprocket hole area of the film.
The sprocket holes. Those tiny holes on the side.
Yep, the same ones.
So it's like there's this other layer of the film that's been hidden.
Kind of. It's like there was something there originally, but it's been erased or changed.
That's freaking.
I know. And get this, Livingstone even says he found a ghost motorcycle in some frames.
A ghost motorcycle.
Yeah, like a motorcycle cop that was digitally removed from the scene.
Wait, why would they remove a motorcycle cop?
That's the million-dollar question. It makes you think, what were they trying to hide?
Just
Livingstone also gets into the technical stuff, like the type of film stock used. He says some copies used film stock that wasn't even available in 1963.
So those copies are definitely not original.
Right. And he looks at the sprocket hole patterns, the edge printing, all these tiny details, and he argues that they all point to the film being tampered with.
So what's his overall conclusion?
Basically, he says that the Zapruder film we see today isn't a reliable record of what happened. He thinks it's been intentionally altered to hide the truth.
Wow, that's a huge claim. If he's right, it means the most famous piece of evidence in the case is fake.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, if they faked that, what else did they fake?
It's like the whole foundation of the investigation is crumbling.
I know. The article doesn't say for sure who might have tampered with the film, but it suggests that the FBI had the means and the motive.
The FBI. So a government cover-up.
That's what Livingstone seems to be implying.
It's terrifying to think about.
It is. But we have to consider it given the evidence.
Yeah, we can't just ignore it. This is one researcher's perspective, but it's a perspective that makes a lot of sense.
It does. It makes you realize that we can't just accept what we see at face value.
Especially when it comes to something as important as the JFK assassination.
Exactly. So far, we've looked at this guy, Child, who was connected to both Oswald and the Kennedys, and we've seen how the Zapruder film might be a fake.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
It is. But let's move on to another article that adds even more to the story. This one focuses on witness testimony, specifically 4 women who were standing near Zapruder when the shooting happened.
Near Zapruder, so they saw the whole thing.
That's what they claim. These women worked for the Dallas Morning News, and their testimony goes against the official story.
Oh, so?
Well, they say they heard shots coming from multiple directions.
Multiple directions. But the Warren Commission said all the shots came from the book depository.
I know, but these women say they heard shots from the front, from behind the picket fence, even from the grassy knoll.
Wow, so they're saying there were multiple shooters.
That's what their testimony suggests.
That's huge.
It is. It makes you think about all those conspiracy theories about a coordinated attack.
Yeah, like it wasn't just one lone gunman.
Exactly. And here's another strange thing. These women say that right after the shooting, the Secret Service confiscated their cameras.
Confiscated their cameras? Why?
That's what's so weird. If there was nothing to hide, why take their cameras?
It's like they didn't want anyone else to see what they saw.
Right.
It just adds to the suspicion that something's not right.
It does. And these women weren't the only ones who said they heard shots from different places. A lot of witnesses said the same thing, but the Warren Commission pretty much ignored them.
So they cherry-pick the evidence to fit their narrative.
It seems that way. They focus on the evidence that supported their conclusion and ignored the stuff that didn't.
It's a classic cover-up tactic.
I know. And it makes you wonder, what else are they hiding?
Exactly. This whole deep dive has been like that, uncovering things that don't fit the official story.
Totally. And this article about the witnesses, it connects to some of the other things we've talked about. Like, they said they heard shots from behind the picket fence. And remember how Livingstone said he found that ghost image of a shooter in the Zapruder film?
Right, the one that might have been edited out.
Yeah, it all starts to fit together.
Like a puzzle, where the pieces are finally falling into place.
Exactly. And their testimony also backs up researchers who say JFK was hit from both the front and the back.
Suggesting multiple shooters.
Right.
Wow, this is getting really interesting.
It is.
It's like we're building this whole new understanding of what happened that day.
I know, it's amazing.
And it shows that the official narrative, the one we've been told for so long, is falling apart.
It's definitely crumbling.
And under it, we're finding a truth that's darker and more disturbing.
Definitely.
This deep dive has taken us down a rabbit hole of connections, coincidences, and altered evidence.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. We've met fascinating characters like Child, and we've questioned the authenticity of the Zapruder film.
Yeah, it's like we're in a spy movie or something.
I know, right? And we've heard from witnesses who challenge the official story, adding their voices to the mix.
It's like we're piecing together a giant puzzle.
Exactly. And as we keep going, we're going to uncover even more.
We definitely will. So join us as we finish this deep dive into the JFK assassination. We're going to examine even more evidence and try to make sense of it all.
It's going to be fascinating.
It's amazing how these different pieces of evidence all come together, you know, from mysterious connections to altered photos, conflicting testimonies. It really paints a picture that's much more complex than what we've been told.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about these deep dives.
Yeah.
We're not just accepting what's out there, we're questioning it, digging deeper.
Yeah.
And, we're only scratching the surface here. There's a whole world of JFK research out there. Countless books, articles, documentaries, you name it.
Absolutely. It's a rabbit hole, really.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the JFK assassination itself. It's about being more critical with all information, questioning what we see, what we hear, being aware of manipulation.
That's so important, especially today. The JFK assassination is a prime example. History isn't always what it seems. It's been shaped by those in power. And it's up to us to challenge those narratives, to dig deeper and find the truth.
Well said. This deep dive has been quite a journey. We've met some fascinating people, uncovered strange connections, and even questioned iconic images.
Yeah, and it's left me with a sense of awe, really. The sheer complexity of this event. It's a story that keeps us captivated, even after all these years. And honestly, it's a story we may never fully understand.
That's true, there are still so many unanswered questions, but that's part of the intrigue, isn't it? The search for truth, the constant exploration.
Exactly. As long as we keep asking questions, keep digging, we're on the right track.
So, what will you take away from all this? Will you look at historical photos and films differently now? Will you be more skeptical of what you're told? These are questions for you to think about as you explore this event further.
There's a wealth of information out there just waiting to be discovered.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the JFK assassination. It's been a fascinating journey, to say the least.
Full of twists and turns.
And we hope it's sparked your curiosity, made you think a little differently.
Always question. Always seek the truth.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a topic that's sure to make you think, question, and maybe even change your mind.
Until then, keep searching, keep exploring,